Today I have a fantastic list for you. Most of the time, when I do these top 10 family game lists, I consider my entire collection and I try to come up with something that's well-rounded and hits the criteria for whatever I'm focusing on. But this list is different because recently my mom came out and spent 6 weeks with us. My mom and I both love games and we played games almost every single night. But whereas I'm more of the strategic, problem solver in my gaming preferences, my mom likes things that are easy to learn and very simple to play. This list isn't just a theoretical collection that satisfies my mom's and my distinct tastes. This is actually the list of the 10 games that we played most during her stay. So let's get into it and take a look at 10 games that you can play with your kids or your parents and ensure that everyone has a great time. The first game I want to talk about is a little box called Mountain Goats. Now, Mountain Goats is actually something that I featured in my first top 10 list. It's an excellent game, especially if you have young kids and kids that are learning arithmetic, but it played fabulously well with my mom and my wife when we were staying up late at night. It's a dice rolling game, and what you're doing is rolling 4 dice and trying to choose pairs of dice to advance goats on your mountain. The thing is, when you get to the top of a mountain, if an opponent is there, you kick them off. So it has a bit of that take that element of gameplay, but the thing I really enjoyed about this, and one of the reasons why we played it so much, is because this game is so light that we could easily have a drink and talk while we played the game. So we played it many, many times. Mountain Goats. Now, before I ever got into board games like I am today, my mom and I used to play cribbage, and I've played hundreds and hundreds of games of cribbage with her. Now, this next game is not a card game like cribbage, but it sort of scratches the same itch, and it's only for 2 players. It's called Nanga Parbat. And in Nanga Parbat, a Himalayan mountain is depicted with 6 areas, and each of these 6 areas has 6 animals. And it's set collection. What you're trying to do is collect either different sets of animals or groups of animals that are all matching. So you pick one of those 6 animals, and the animal that you choose determines that the area where your opponent can select from next. So if you select animal number 4, then your opponent gets to select from area number 4. And if they select animal number 2, then you get to select from area number 2. And so back and forth it goes. Now, the fun twist in this game is that the animals that you collect all have a special ability, so you can use the animal in order to gain some sort of one-time effect that that animal grants you. It's got a really kind of clever mechanic, but it's a light game, and here's the thing I really like about it. It is exceptionally well balanced. So throughout the entire game, there's going to be a constant back and forth. It's not going to be like cribbage in the sense that your opponent is going to skunk you, but rather the designer has carefully planned in catch-up mechanics, is what we call that, where the player who is behind can play to catch up. And so you really have to be strategic in order to stay ahead. Otherwise, your opponent can take advantage of those catch-up mechanics, and it just makes the game that much more interesting when it's always neck and neck. So Nanga Parbat was a lot of fun for us. Now, the next game says on the box that it's for 3 to 8 players, but in my opinion, the game is best with 4 players. So we played it, my mom and I, with my 2 kids, and it is a team game called Decrypto. It's a lot easier to play Decrypto than it is to describe it, so let's just try it out. Right now, you and I are the white team, and we have 4 keywords: attack, apple, snow, and shoe. Now, I'm the clue giver, and I have a card with a 3-digit code that I want you to guess. So the words that I'm going to give you are fruit, lace, and man. So based on the keywords, can you determine what the 3-digit code is? If you guessed 2, 4, 3, you'd be correct. However, we don't get a point yet because that's not actually the point of the game. The point of the game is decrypting the code. So now let's pretend that we're the black team. As the black team, we can't see the keywords. And now the white team is giving their second set of clues. So the second set of clues is tongue, north, and enemy. Here's the notes that we took from the previous round. Of the 3 clues that were given last time, the word tongue is most like the word fruit. So we might guess 2, and then for north doesn't really match up with anything. So maybe north is 1. And then enemy, well, a villain could be an enemy, so maybe man and enemy are related. So let's make our guess 2, 1, 3. Now, switching roles and going back to the white team, what do you think is the 3-digit code for tongue, north, enemy? The correct answer was 431. So our opponents, the black team, was not able to decrypt our code, but they did gain 3 more hints about what our keywords might be. The first team to correctly decrypt 2 codes wins. Brilliant mechanic. We had a ton of fun with it, and what's marvelous about this game is that it really didn't matter that it was child and adults playing the game. It was a ton of fun. I do think that it would not have worked as well had it been 2 children versus 2 adults, but we really enjoyed it with my kids, and my youngest daughter is 8 years old, and this worked for her, even though the box says 12 and up. Now, speaking of word games, there are 2 games that I do not own that we enjoyed playing immensely. One of the games we played probably more than any other, and we didn't play it in a hard copy. We actually played it online. The game is called Letter Jam. So to show you how Letter Jam works, we're just going to play it using the web app. So this is a cooperative game, and you are here playing with 3 other players, me, Michael, and Luke. And the objective is to provide clues to help everybody guess the cards that they're holding in their tray. So these are your 5 cards, and you're holding 1 card so that its face is outward towards everybody else. They can see it, you can't. And likewise, you can see everybody else's cards, and they can't. So simultaneously, everyone is going to be trying to think of a word that uses as many letters as possible. So, for example, you might say, you have a clue. How about tail? T-A-I-L. And you'd say to everyone, I have a 4-letter word that uses everyone's letters and no wild card. I'll show you what the wild card is in a minute. You'd present that, and then people would have a chance to vote. Of course, everyone is doing this. Now, if people were to vote and choose this clue, then this is what they would get. I would see T-A?L. And I'd have to figure out from context what my letter is. Whereas Michael, he can't see the L, but he would see T-A-I blank. And Luke would see T-blank-I-L. So that would be what we would see if we voted on your clue. But of course, it's not always going to be the case that the letters that are drawn are that straightforward. So sometimes you'll need a wild card. So let me show you how that works using the hint alliance. So A-L-L-I-A-N-C-E, alliance. So this would be a 8-letter hint that uses everyone's letters and 2 wild cards. So in some ways it's a little easier because it's a longer word. In some ways it's a little harder because no one knows what those hints are or what those letters are. So we like this game because it was puzzly, and although it was trickier for my kids to play, we did play a few games with them as well just because we thought it was good educational fun for them. The nice thing about Letter Jam is that you can play it online for free right now. You can follow the tutorial to learn the game. So I will put a link in the description. We played it probably 3-4 times a week each morning. Now the other word game that we played and my mom could not stop talking about, she loved it, was called Monikers. Now I thought Monikers was a lot of fun as well, but there are a few things about this game that I don't like. Namely, Monikers is the kind of game where you can go to a store and you can pay money to get a box with a nice picture on the front and open the box and inside use the cards and play the game. That's fine. Or you can just take index cards and write words on it and play monikers. It's like charades. You don't need to buy charades. You can just play it without material. So I don't want to own monikers because I will just make monikers. And in fact, that's what we did. We played it once and then we made our own monikers. Here's how it goes, okay? I'll describe what the box contains. So the box has a lot of cards, and all of the cards have words on them and phrases on them and movies and pop culture references and memes and all sorts of things on the cards. That's another thing I don't really like about it, though. I don't like the cultural references because depending on who you're playing with, for example, children, they're not going to catch all of that stuff. But anyway, whatever. So you got all these words, and then everybody takes a bunch. Like, let's say you've got 10 to choose from, and from those 10 you choose 5. So there are 5 words that you yourself know, and everybody puts their 5 into the center of the table, and the whole deck is shuffled. Now at that point, everybody knows 5 of the words in there, okay? And you start with, people are breaking out in teams, okay? Every other person is on a different team, and somebody goes through it kind of like Taboo, and they draw a word, and it says, okay, yellow brick road. And so the person's like, all right, Dorothy and Toto, they traveled on this to get to Oz, right? It's like Taboo, you can say any words. And so someone's like, oh, the yellow brick road. Yes, that's right. And you go through and you get as many as you can in a minute. So you go through, you get all these things. Everybody does that, no surprise. Well, after your minute, you pass to the next person, and they go through it, and they go through it, and they go through it. It's easy because not only can you say anything, but also there are people at the table who picked those words. They know what it is, okay? Bear with me now, because here's what happens. After you get through the deck, you shuffle the deck, you go through the deck again, but this time, you can only say one word. So when Yellow Brick Road comes up, you might say Dorothy. And hopefully, if people have good memories, they'll remember what Dorothy means, and they guess Yellow Brick Road. Okay? Well, you go around, you do the whole deck again. Finally, you come back to it. This time, you can't say anything. You can only gesture. So you draw Yellow Brick Road, and you're like, you're skipping, and you're like, you're pretending you're wearing ruby slippers and stuff. You're skipping, you're pretending you're singing a song, and maybe people can figure it out. It gets hilarious, absolutely hilarious. We had so much fun. We played it with my kids. We immediately decided that the box was not fun to play with. We just made our own cards, and we had fun with that. Monikers was great. All right, so let's get back into games that I actually own. The next one is New York Zoo. This was actually the first game that I ever reviewed on this channel, and it's still a good game. This is Uwe Rosenberg. It's tile placement. So you're using polynominos to fill in your zoo board, and as you place pieces, you have to put animal tokens on each piece, and as players move around the board, taking more and more pieces, as they do this, it triggers animal breeding. So as you go, you get more and more animals, and once you fill a zoo tile, you get bonuses to help you fill in those gaps. And the first person to fill their zoo is the winner. Engaging gameplay, it's always been engaging for my kids. They've been playing it since they were young because everyone in my family loves animals. And it's a fun puzzle to work through. So we played it several times with my mom, and we still really enjoy this one. New York Zoo. Okay, so far, all of the games that I've taught have been very, very simple. I do think there are a few people who want something a little bit more you can stick your teeth into. This next game is brand new. The retail edition should be coming soon, actually. And we played it twice with my mom. It wasn't too much for her, but it is heavier. It's called Wondrous Creatures. And if you're familiar with Everdell, it's about as heavy as Everdell. This is worker placement, so you can get resources in order to build cards. It's like tableau building. And the more cards you play, the more opportunities that you get for scoring points or getting special abilities or getting, other things that can work together to help you get more resources and play more cards. So it kind of accelerates towards the ending. It's a beautiful, beautiful game. I played this both with my mom and my wife, and then we played it again with my mom, my wife, and my 10-year-old daughter. And my 10-year-old daughter loved it, My 8-year-old hasn't played it yet, but my mom thought it was great. She was happy to play it twice. So now we're getting into the last 3. These are the games that I think we enjoyed the most. And the first of them is one that I ordered and actually arrived while my mom was here. If it had arrived earlier, we probably would have played it even more. It's called Archeos Society, and this is a game that is very similar to something like Ticket to Ride, if you know what that's like. It's essentially a card game. You're drawing cards, and then once you have a set of cards that you like, you play the set to advance on tracks, and the tracks that you advance on give you victory points at the end of the game. So unlike Ticket to Ride, you're not on a map. You're not placing routes, but you are playing large groups of cards to advance farther on these tracks. Now here's what makes it different from Ticket to Ride. In Ticket to Ride, you play a set of the same color of cards, and that's it. In this game, any set you play, the cards you don't use get discarded face up for other people to take. So anytime you don't use a card, it becomes available for someone else. That's a really fun mechanic. And the second thing is, every set has a leader card, and the leader has a special ability. So sometimes the leader might give you an extra point on your set, or sometimes the leader might let you play another set after playing your first set, or sometimes the leader might let you keep your cards rather than discarding them as you normally would. But there's a lot of variation because the game comes kind of like Dominion or something. It comes with lots of different leaders. You only choose 6 to play with. And there are tokens and tracks, and so lots of variability. We played this one, I think, 5 times within a period of about a week. We really liked it. Okay, last 2. My mom and I, oh man, we played Splendor so much. I feel like Splendor needs no introduction. This game is, I mean, you can buy this game at Target or Barnes & Noble. This game has been around. It has expansions. We played the expansions. My favorite expansion is the Monuments expansion, but this is, again, set collection. So you're picking up tokens, and you're using the tokens to buy cards, and the cards that you buy give you more, or I guess it's not set. It's like resource collection, resource management, to buy more cards. It's just one of those engine builders, classic game, already sold tons of copies. I feel like everyone knows that one already. The last one is the game my mom probably liked most of all. She always wanted me to bring this out. She was always calling it, like, what's the one with the alabaster? Because she can't remember game names to save her life. It's called Fertility. I feel like I've talked about Fertility before, but this is a great game. It's a domino placement mechanic, so you're placing dominoes onto a grid, and adjacencies give you resources. So there's a white and a green and a purple and a brown, different colored resources. They're like cows and grapes and aloe and stuff. And as soon as you get those resources, you have to spend them. It's use it or lose it. So the 2 things you can do with the resources to spend is that you can either buy a tile to add to your player board and give you more spaces, or you can put the resources on the spaces that are already on your player board to get you points. And there's a few different ways to get points. So my mom really enjoyed it because there's so many different ways to get points. She felt like there was a different strategy every time. And I got to agree with her. This is just a solid game. One of the things it does so well is the game ends at just the right point. Every time I play it, it's enough to get a lot done, but it stops right before you wish it could stop. And it always leaves you going like, I want to play I could play one more domino. If I could just play one more domino, let's take our score. Oh man, okay, let's play it again because I could do better next time. I mean, over and over again, we would just play this one. We probably played it one night 3 times in a row, Fertility. So I had so much fun. If you want to find these games, you can check out the links in the description. If you like this video and you like top 10 lists, I also want to remind you that on theperfectboardgame.com, you can sort games according to different attributes. So if you enjoy simple games, go ahead and look at the top 50 simple games on theperfectboardgame.com, or figure out your own perfect board game profile and do a search for the matches that suit your specific tastes. Again, all of that can be found on theperfectboardgame.com.